Alright, what's going on, guys? We're back out here in the driveway. I've got a little bit more work and another part that I want to add here to my 2014 GMC Sierra. So it's been a little while. I think it's probably been at least a year, maybe a little bit more. I installed a Moroso catch can in this truck, and I'll throw a card up here in the corner. There's actually two videos. There was sort of more of the installation video with a short test, about a 500-mile test, and then I did a follow-up video that was a 5,000-mile test, and the test was to see how much motor oil and other contaminants, other fluids that the catch can actually collected, as well as to see if there was any sort of increase in fuel economy and things like that. I have a new part. It's a catch can. It's an RX Performance catch can. What I really want to do is a test. I want to see which of these is the better system. It's a pretty nice, pretty complete kit. It comes with the catch can. It comes with some fittings, hoses, brackets, things like that. So let me bring you in closer and I'll go over the parameters of how I'm going to do the test. It's going to be a 4,000-mile test. We're going to do 2,000 miles in one configuration and then 2,000 miles in the opposite configuration. We're also going to use the term dirty side and clean side. Dirty side refers to vapor that's coming out of the engine, out of the crankcase. Clean side is vapor and air that's going back into the engine. So we're going to start by taking the clean side from the Moroso unit to the dirty side of the RX container, and then clean side RX to the intake manifold. I want to see how much oil and contaminant is getting past the Moroso. So that'll be one configuration. Then we're going to flip it. We're going to do clean side RX to dirty side Moroso and then into the engine. I want to see if there's contaminants getting past this catch can, the RX catch can, and into the Moroso. Okay, so I have the RX catch can physically mounted into place. I'm happy with its positioning. We're going to move on. The next thing that we would need to do would be the plumbing, routing the lines from the dirty side and the clean side. But like I said at the beginning of this video, we're doing a test. We're comparing two competing products. Now, this is certainly not scientific. I'm in my driveway, I'm in my garage. This is kind of just a backyard test. But we want to try and make it as fair as possible. So the Moroso's been on the truck for a while, and I haven't drained it. I'm sure it's got some motor oil in it and some other fluids. I'm going to take the Moroso unit off, drain it, clean it, get it spotless, then put it back in, and then do the plumbing. Like I said, we want to try and make this as fair as possible. The RX is brand new. It's as clean as it's ever going to be. So we need to try and get the Moroso as clean as possible. We'll do that next and come back and do our plumbing. Okay, so I've got the Moroso can all cleaned, reinstalled. I did cut off and remove the clean side line from the Moroso can, the side that goes from the can to the intake manifold. The kit, the RX Performance kit, does come with all new line, which would be enough. And just to kind of still keep things fair, I want to use the clean new line on the clean side. So what we're going to do, we're going to take the clean side port from the Moroso can to the center port on the RX Performance can. Mine has 3 ports. We're only going to be using 2. The center port is always the dirty side, and the outer port towards the perimeter of the can is the clean side. That will go back to the intake manifold. So we'll go ahead and take some line And we'll push it onto the barbed fitting on the Moroso can. And then we'll route it over, like I said, to the center port of the RX can. Now I want to give myself a little bit of slack for this, because I'm going to bundle these lines up down here. That looks pretty good right there. Again, clean side from the Moroso to the dirty side of the RX can. So that's technically our dirty side. Part of the test is to see how much fluid the Moroso lets by. And we saw earlier when I cleaned it, I showed you that there was quite a bit of oil on the quote-unquote clean side of the can. There's clearly some motor oil getting by, and you can also tell if you look at the fitting that goes into the intake manifold, it's dirty as well. It's pretty clear that there is some fluid, some motor oil, and other contaminants that are getting past the can and back into the intake manifold. Now we just got to run a line from the clean side to the intake manifold, and we do have a special little one-way valve that I'll show you. Alright, so here's the little fitting that I was talking about. It's a one-way check valve. On there, I may have to throw up a still picture, but there is a little arrow right there. You can always test these things by blowing on them. So the arrow is going that way. Flip it around. Nothing. So the arrow needs to point towards the intake manifold. That's the direction of airflow going through the can. So we'll go put this on, and we're basically done with the installation. Alright, so that's good. We'll slip this on. It doesn't really matter if you get the 3-port can, doesn't really make a difference which port you use, but you got to remember that you got to plug off the one that you don't use. And there is a little cap in the kit. Now we're going to put the hose connected to the other side, and we'll run this over to the little port on our intake. Alright, so I like that length. I'm going to route it kind of down and make it kind of look neat and tidy. And then we just slip this over port on the intake manifold. And that's it. We are basically done with the installation. So let me get that cap and plug off that other port there. Okay, so here's the little cap. All we do is we just put it on the port that we're not using, and that's it. So everything's fully installed. So right now we're at 23,048 miles. That's our starting point. We're going to do 2,000 miles in this configuration. After that, we're going to check everything. We're going to check the fluids, see how much motor oil and other contaminants are in the Moroso can, as well as the RX can, compare the two. After that, we're going to flip things around a little bit. And then just because we did it last time, a fuel mileage, currently I am at 17.6 average miles per gallon. So we'll see if that increases or decreases. We did see an increase when we put the Moroso on, but I kind of have a feeling this is going to catch a little bit more. Possibly that could go up, but we'll just watch it. Again, this isn't super scientific. It's just backyard testing. I'm not using any kind of special equipment to measure my fuel mileage. I'm just going off what computer in the truck is telling me. We'll run these tests. We'll come back after 2,000 miles, check everything, and keep going with this. Okay guys, we've basically completed the first half of the test. We've finished our 2,000 mile test run. We've actually gone over 2,000 miles a little bit. We started at 23,048 miles on the odometer. We are currently at 25,219. So we traveled a total distance of 2,171 miles. So we're going to collect. We're going to drain both catch cans. We're going to collect the contaminants, the motor oil that they have collected. I've got 3 little measuring cups here because I don't know how much is going to come out of each catch can. These are 150 milliliter or 5 ounce total, and I've got them labeled. This is for the RX can, and this one's for the Moroso, and then the one that's not labeled, we'll put a label on it if one of these catch cans runs full and we fill up past that mark. Now we did, I have a video where I did a 5,000 mile follow-up test on this Moroso catch can, and we actually collected 5 ounces of fluid. It was a combination of water and motor oil and other contaminants that came out of that Moroso catch can. So that would fill up one of these. Now, we've only gone a little over 2,000, so we're only 2/5 of the distance, but I really don't know anything about this RX can, so it might actually collect more. I don't know. That's what we're going to find out. So let's actually just get started. I'm going to start with the Moroso. we're going to drain that one first. I've got the correct label, I've got the correct measuring cup. Let's just crack this open and see what we got. If I can find the little valve. Oh, here it is. Nothing. Nothing in there. That's interesting. Alright, well, let me close this. So nothing, absolutely nothing in that Moroso catch can. Alright, so now we'll set up again and we'll see if anything comes out of the RX can. Okay, so I've got the cameras moved around. I've got my little measuring cup for the RX can. Let's stick this down here. Open the valve and see what we get. Well, there's stuff in there. Kind of chunky. I think there may be a clog in there. Let me close that for a minute. I think there's more in there. I'm gonna check it. We got some chunky stuff on top. I'm gonna find something. I think there may be some chunky stuff in there. I'm gonna find like a little stick or something to poke up in there and maybe break that little blockage loose. That may be what's going on with the Moroso. There may be a little bit of a blockage in there and it's not letting anything drain because we got literally nothing out of that Moroso. So let me check that. Alright, so let's try that again. I've got a little zip tie that I'm going to poke up in there and see if I can break up that little blockage. Maybe there is no blockage. Well, maybe that's it. Maybe that's all that's in there. Let's close that off. Must be all that's in there. I'm going to try and fish this up the little drain tube on the Moroso and see if there may be a blockage, but I'm kind of thinking maybe not. Oh, there we go. Like mostly water. It's getting a little milky now. There's definitely some chunks in there. Maybe that helped. I'm not sure. The Moroso was getting kind of full here. I'm going to go to that other. I'm going to close it off and get the other container. Alright, so I'm going to close this off. I'm actually going to take this whole catch can off and then drain it. I'm going to disassemble it and drain it. So far, this is what we've gotten out of the Moroso. But like I said, I'm going to take it apart. I'm going to take it out, take it apart, and see if there's anything left in there. This thing actually feels kind of heavy. Heavy, like there's more in there. I guess we'll just open it up and find out. That's the only way, right? Oh yeah, there's more in there. Real sludgy too. Well, let's pour it in the measuring cup. Alright, so here's the results after our, whatever it was, a little better than 2,100 mile test run with both of these catch cans. The Moroso, which I still have in pieces here, and then the RX Performance can. Just under 4 ounces total fluid collected for the Moroso, and almost exactly 2 ounces of total contaminants, total fluid collected in the RX can. Now, this right here, this is what got past the Moroso can. So we basically got 4 ounces here, we got 2 ounces here. This is an additional 50%. I think it's mostly water. You could argue is not as bad as motor oil getting into the intake manifold. This is bad. I didn't expect to see this. But these are the results. We're going to put everything back together. We're going to reverse the orientation. So the RX can is going to be catching, I should say, it's going to be the first in line out of the crankcase. So, and then this, the Moroso, will back up the RX can, and we'll do the same comparison. We'll see how much contaminants get past the RX can into the Moroso before it goes into the intake manifold. So we'll come back after another 2,100 something miles. Now when we started this test 2,100 miles ago, this truck had an overall average of 17.6. As it sits right now, before we started the engine and started the new test, we are at 17.2 miles per gallon. So we dropped 0.4 of a mile per gallon. There's a lot of factors involved. I use this truck for daily driving. Like I said way earlier in this video, this is just a backyard test. This isn't all that scientific. So, and again, I'm just using the computer in the truck to tell me what it's averaging fuel mileage wise. So that's where we are. Let me close the hood and we will start our next 2,100 mile test. Okay guys, so this is the end of the test. We've put better than 4,200 miles total on this test, comparing the RX Performance catch can and the Moroso catch can that I've had on this truck and I had on my old 2007 GMC. So just to reiterate, first coming off of the crankcase is the RX Performance catch can. Following that is the Moroso catch can, and then from there it goes back into the intake manifold. Theoretically, the dirtiest catch can should be the RX Performance, and anything that has gotten past the RX can should have been collected by the Moroso. So from here, we'll just go and get those same little measuring cups I had before. We'll drain each catch can, measure the fluids, I'll show you the results, and then we'll finish out this video. Okay, so we're using the exact same little measuring cups that we had before. This one still says RXP on it, it's a little bit smudged. But this is the same one before. I've got another one here in case there's some overflow. So let's break open the RX Performance catch can. So far it looks like it's just water coming out of there. Now last time there was actually some sludge when I drained the Moroso that prevented it from draining out properly. Maybe the case here. Alright, I'm going to shut this right now. I'm going to go get like a zip tie or something to stick up in there to see if I can get it to drain a little better. But as it is right now, we've really caught only about 25 milliliters of what looks mostly like water, about an ounce. Let's see if we can get some more out of there. Got my little pokey zip tie again, and let's stick it up in there and see if we can't get some more sludge out of there. There's some really sludgy kind of stuff coming out of here. Let me close that. So when I stuck the zip tie up in there, you can see kind of the nasty stuff that came out of there. I'm gonna take the catch can out, drain it on the bench. I think that'll give us a much more accurate and a much less messy result. As you can see, I've got the catch can out of the truck. I mean, I can hear it. I'm not sure if you guys could hear it, but there's definitely more fluid, more contaminants left inside this. So now that we've got it out, let's try and drain it here on the bench. Oh, there we go. Kind of shake it up a little bit. Oh yeah. Well, yeah, I mean there's more stuff in there. You can see the bottom there up inside the can. Well, I guess that was actually, I mean there was crud in there, but I think this was certainly what we drained out was the majority of it. So we'll set that back down. I'm gonna clean this with some carb cleaner and stuff later on, so we'll just set that to the side. This is everything that we collected out of the RX can. So now we'll go break open the Moroso can. I'm just gonna go ahead and take the Moroso can out of the truck, bring it over here to the workbench, and drain it over here. All right, so I've got the Moroso catch can pulled out of the truck, maybe a little bit too bright to see that. Feels heavy, but I can't hear anything sloshing around, so let's get this thing drained and actually see if there's anything in there. Again, I think there's some kind of sludgy, cruddy stuff up in there. Let's use the old zip tie. Well, maybe not. But we'll crack this one open just like we broke open the RX can. Not bad. Actually, there's really not all that much stuff up in there. Let's take it back over to the workbench. So, this is really all that came out of there. Well, that little bit in there, and what's left in the can there. So, not much at all came out there. I'm gonna set these two pieces aside. I'm gonna clean these two later along with the RX can. So basically, there's the results. We got RX performance right there, Moroso right there. Let me reposition the camera for a better shot. So I apologize for the birds chirping over my shoulder here in this last section of the video. Let's go over the results real quick. So we'll start with the RX performance can. Pulled quite a bit of fluid out of there. We've got a total of almost 3.5 ounces. It really seems to be about a 50-50 split between water and then lighter distillates such as motor oil, gasoline, things like that. We'll spin this around for my metric friends. About 105 milliliters. RX did pretty darn well. Let me bring the Moroso over here. Not much. So that bottom line there, that is the 1/2 ounce mark, and we're not anywhere close to that. There's milliliters, maybe a mill or two of fluid collected out of the Moroso catch can. Again, the Moroso can was after the RX can. The crankcase to the RX can to the Moroso can to the intake manifold. That was the configuration. Honestly, based on these results, RX is really kind of the clear winner here. Maybe clear winner is not the right word, but in my opinion, it is the winner. So checking the results, I'm looking at the pictures here on my phone from our first fluid draw after that first 2,100 mile test. We actually pulled a grand total of more fluid, more contaminants out than we did this time. The Moroso, which was first in line, collected really about 105 milliliters. Same as what the RX caught this time, 105 milliliters, almost 3.5 ounces. However, what got past the Moroso looks to be about 60 milliliters of mostly water. It was mostly water last time, but about 60 milliliters. And 60 milliliters translates into about 2 ounces. That was what got past the Moroso catch can and got collected by the RX. With the results from our last test and the results from this test, I do think that the RX performance can is the better filter than the Moroso unit. A couple other things, we were measuring fuel mileage, so we'll go over that. Before we started any of this testing, the average fuel economy of this truck was 17.6 miles per gallon. After the first 2,100 miles, the first test, it dropped a little bit to 17.2, so 0.4 of a mile per gallon. Where we sit right now, we're at 17.8 miles per gallon. So these fuel mileage results are basically negligible. I mean, there's really no correlation between fuel mileage and this test with these two cans. Now, however, when I did the video putting the catch can, the Moroso, on this truck, I did notice a bump in fuel economy, roughly 1 to 1.5 miles per gallon. So I do think that there is a correlation between putting a catch can on and a increase in fuel economy, but in this test between these two, I don't see anything that could be distinguished. So that's it for this test. I'm going to clean out both of these units. I appreciate you guys watching. I hope you learned something from this, and we'll see you on the next video. Thanks again.